call the meeting to order. Would you please stand? Scott Graves is going to lead our devotion tonight.
Let's pray. The Lord will come before you tonight, God. We thank you for your many blessings. We thank you for giving us a safe day, to God, and bring us back here tonight. Jesus, we ask you to bless and help us in our meeting and the concerns for our city, God. We ask you to bless and help each and every one here, God. Touch us as we try to go on and do your will, God, and bless you in everything that we do. We can reach the lost. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. I've never missed that.
Ms. Frida, if you would call the roll.
Mayor Kirkman,
Here.
Council members Ricky Klein,
Present.
Kim Farley,
Here.
David Harrison,
Here.
and Brian Smalling,
Here.
4 present.
4 members of the council present. We have established a quorum, so the meeting will proceed. We will adopt the agenda next.
Make a motion to adopt.
We have a motion,
Second.
and we have a second to adopt the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Let the record reflect that it passed unanimously. At this time, we're going to open a public hearing that is reference to Peck, Schaefer, and Williams Bond Counsel for Hallmark Oakwood Village acquisition and the renovation of Oakwood Village in Westmoreland. At this time, I'd like to turn the podium over to Michael Dean, who will conduct the public hearing for us.
Good evening. My name is Michael Dean. As the mayor said, I come from Dinsmore and Shoal in Cincinnati, Ohio. We have a developer client named Greystone that is purchasing a portfolio of apartment complexes across the state called the Hallmark Portfolio. And the bonds are being issued by the Health, Educational, and Housing Facilities Board of Sevier County, Tennessee. We've been retained as bond counsel by the board. And so under federal law, we're required to hold a public hearing on the issuance of these bonds and the use of these proceeds to purchase the apartment complex in your jurisdiction. The project will involve renovation and rehabilitation as well as acquisition of the property. These bonds themselves total about $32 million that will be used for acquisition costs of the apartment complexes across the state. In total, including that $32 million, there will be about $127 million total into all of the projects, including the renovations and rehabilitations. So like I said, under federal law, we're required to have a hearing and allow for public comment, and so that's what we're here to do. And I've made myself available to answer any questions or any concern, address any concerns about the project. So this is the time to air those concerns. More questions?
I only have one question. We've already, is this a new company or is this more money or something
The bond
different?
amount changed.
Changed, okay. Well, I
Yes.
knew we had already
Yeah.
done this,
Down
voted
here
on this
I think
once.
near the end of 2013. And what has changed since then is the portfolio itself has shrunk by 6 properties. Through some further vetting between the board and the developer, those projects got tossed out of this portfolio. And so the bond amount was lowered. That process took a lot of time, and so we're here sort of just tightening things up legally just to make sure that the project can go forward now as it stands.
You might let the public know that the city is not under any money, will not be out any money whatsoever, any funds at
That's
all.
correct. You're not pledging any assets or receipts. There's no liability on the city's part. This is simply a venue for the public hearing and the approval of the use of the proceeds by the council.
Out of those proceeds, how much would actually go to Westmoreland to revitalize its infrastructure?
In Westmoreland, the acquisition cost, I think, around $500,000. As far as the renovations that go on after that, that is the developer's purview. Like I said, in total, $127 million into all the properties, and certainly a good portion of that was spent in Westmoreland.
Any other questions? No questions being asked of Mr. Dean or of the council. I'll close the public hearing at this point. It's 7:07. Okay, first item on the agenda is Resolution R042015-2. Hallmark Oakwood Village acquisition and renovation, Oakwood Village, and the bond amount not to exceed $32,232,200.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion on the matter? Okay, we'll call for the vote. Ms. Fred, if you'd like to do a roll call.
Klein,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Farley,
Yes.
and Smalling.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record reflect that it passes unanimously. We have no one who has signed up for the public comment section, so we'll move on to the minutes of the March 19th, 2015 regular meeting.
Make a motion to accept as read.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as read. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll have our vote. Everyone who is in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Let the record reflect that it carries unanimously. Now we'll vote on the minutes of the April 2nd, 2015 special called meeting.
Make a motion to accept April 2nd, 2015 special call meeting minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as read for the April 2nd, 2015 special call meeting. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, we will vote. Everyone in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign. Let the record reflect that the minutes have been approved unanimously. We will now move on to the financial statement.
Make a motion to accept the financial statement as printed.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the financial statement as printed. Any discussion? Hearing none, we will move on to the vote. We'll do a roll call vote on this, Ms. Brady.
Harrison,
Yes.
Farley,
Yes.
Smalling,
Yes.
and Klein.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record reflect that the motion passes unanimously. Old business, we have none, so we will move straight into new business. We have a council seat that is vacant from the resignation of Ms. Freeman. Also, I'm going to interject at this time that Kim has submitted her resignation to the council as of about 10 minutes ago. But this will become her last meeting as a councilman for the city of Westmoreland. We do hate to see you leave us, but circumstances sometimes dictate things like that. So we appreciate your service to the city and all that you've put forth. Mr. Bradley, we have one question. Due to some kind of error, the vacancy did not get printed in the newspaper. Is that a requirement for us to fill the seat?
I'd have to review the charter. I don't know. I didn't know that was even an issue.
Okay,
We've never-
I didn't read it anywhere in the charter, so that was kind of,
Does Freda do, is that in the charter? Anything about a notice in the newspaper?
No, it just states what you have to do to fill the vacancy.
Right, that's all I reckon, that's all I remember being there. I don't think there's any problem with that.
okay, thank you. We announced at our last meeting that the seat would be vacant and said that anyone who would like to interview for the position could contact us and come for an interview at the work-study session. We had 3 people that came to that session. So my recommendation to the council, you have those interviews and they have, you have those under your belt. I know that we have at least one, if not more, people that are interested in the seat. Now we have an additional seat that is open. So I'm going to ask you how you feel about it. My part of it would, my recommendation would be that you fill one seat tonight, and then at the next work study interview for the next seat. And with that being said, the folks that have already interviewed, and unless you want to interview again for the new council member that is appointed tonight, and Councilman Harrison missed those interviews, may want to go through a re-interview process. I'll leave that up to the council and leave it up to the council if they want to fill that seat tonight. Ms. Freda, how many other names did you have turned in at City Hall?
I have one other that was submitted last Friday after the write-up in the paper did come out, and it was Mr. David Lee, and he was interested in either one of the seats, or both seats.
Let's do one tonight and one next meeting. That would be the best way, I think.
Okay. Do the interview at the work study.
Do the interview work study.
Okay, you want to put that in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I'll put that form of motion.
You want to state it, please?
Okay. We're gonna, replace one seat tonight. And the second seat, that's Kim's seat, we're gonna interview the work study and replace it in May's meeting. Okay.
So we have a motion on the floor. Do we hear a second?
I'll second motion.
We have a second at this time. Any discussion? Would you like to have them say anything?
Well, they're gonna interview again anyway. Some of them will,
You know,
surely.
okay.
We don't wanna run Kim off too quick. She might change her mind if I can talk to her.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second on the floor to place this seat tonight. If that's acceptable for everyone, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed to it? Like sign? Okay, open the floor for nominations.
I'm open to, I'll make the motion or the nomination, either one, to elect Caleb to the open council seat.
Okay, we have a motion for Caleb Vicky to fill the vacant council seat. Is there a second?
You don't have to get a second on a nomination.
Oh,
Just
okay.
some more nominations.
Okay. Any other nominations?
I'm gonna nominate Marty Coppin for the simple fact that he did run. He's lived here all his life, and a lot of the residents, this is what they wanted me to do, and
Y'all know how I am. When the residents tell me to do something, that's exactly what I do. They put me in, they can take me out.
Okay. Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll cease on the nomination part of the meeting and have a vote. The vote for Caleb Sawicki. If you would like to call a roll call.
Farley,
Abstain.
Smalling,
Yes.
Klein,
No.
and Harrison.
I'm going to abstain since I wasn't here for the interviews.
We have 1 yes, 1 no, and 2 abstain.
Okay. So that one fails. We'll now have a vote for Marty Coughlin. Call the roll.
Smalling,
No.
Klein,
Yes.
Harrison,
Once again, abstain since I wasn't here for the interviews.
and Farley.
And abstain since I'm gonna be going.
1 no, 1 yes, and 2 abstain.
Put it on the
Deadlock.
next agenda.
Okay.
Next agenda, though, we get 2 of them that time.
Thank you very much. Mo Taylor.
Well, as an dentist, I didn't really expect that, so. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight, and I do this, I've been doing this for this will be the 5th year. The fishing rodeo, I'm sure you're all aware of it. I'll briefly cover it just in case anybody in the crowd is not aware of it, and I have some information for each of you. We started this in 2010, and it's been a success, I believe, Mr. Bradley. Last year we had 98 kids showed up at the out at the city lake. The way this works is I come before you and ask your permission, and you've been kind enough to let me use the city lake to do this. Last year you voted to close the city lake, I think at dinner on Thursday, and open it back up at 6 o'clock on Saturday, because we buy fish and turn fish in for the kids to catch. And we know there's fish already in there, but we just increased the chance that they actually catch something. Last year we raised right around $1,400. The fish were $700 that we bought. And I say we because the community, the city, different businesses throughout town and the county donate. They make either financial contributions or they donate fishing poles, tackle boxes. The TWRA donated a lot of fishing related items last year that they gave from the Bass Pro Shop. You can get a lot of those donations from folks like that if you're a 501(c), and I haven't grown it to that level yet to where I do all the paperwork to become a 501(c). So, but brings a lot of kids to town. I mean, last year I had no idea it would be as many out there, because believe me, they had me helping sign them up, and you can't read my handwriting, so that didn't turn out too well. But anyways, we went from 50-something to 90-something in 1 year through, like I said, through the community support, and I just come to ask for your permission to do that again. So.
Do we need a vote on that, Frida?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Make a motion to let Mo do it. He does a great job out there every year.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? I'll just say we probably need to try to get you some help.
Yeah, and well, that vote, I guess.
It's open for discussion.
Okay, yeah, volunteers are always welcome, and there's always volunteers that shows up. The lodge is really good about showing up and helping. Miss Frida's been out there before herself. Several different people from town. I know Frida at Kathy's husband has been there just about every year. And there's different ones come every year. I'm gonna try to maybe before it occurs this year, maybe have a meeting that I'll get put in the paper, maybe form a committee or something, because I saw last year that I need to get a little bit more organized with that many kids shows up. So maybe have somebody to take pictures with names and, then go get your picture made after you get your prize. And I am proud to say that every kid that showed up walked away with something. I mean, if it was a pack of hooks, a pack of bobbers, every child that came got something. I think there was 30 rods and reels at least given away, tackle boxes, stringers, all kinds of fishing related items. So every child, and pretty much every child that stayed to the end, when we run out of the 3 category prizes, when we awarded those, what prizes we had left, we just did random drawings of the kids that didn't get their name called, and pretty much every kid that stayed got their name called for a prize too. So,
Very good.
so every kid was recognized. As long as the support and the contributions keep coming, we'll keep being able to do that. And I have people from all over the county ask me about it. So,
Very good. We're proud to have a place for you to host that. Okay, we'll call for the vote now. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Let the record reflect that it passed unanimously.
thank y'all again. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mo.
Chief Hudgens, and bring it before the council to hire Kevin Brown as a full-time officer.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, council members, as you know, the last one that we sent to the academy didn't last the first night, unfortunately. Yeah, I guess it just wasn't what he wanted. I'm still 2 officers down. Kevin's been one of our reserve officers, and he's done a real fine job at it, and I would like to submit Kevin to be hired to go to the academy, become one of our officers here in the city. I believe he'd make a good officer. He shows a lot of initiative. He wants to be here. He's agreed to the contract, whatever he's got to do. And I just believe he'd be an asset to the department.
Very good. Any questions from the council?
Make a motion, we hire Mr. Brown full-time and send him to the academy.
Second.
Do we
Okay.
need to have that in 2 different motions?
Yeah, it'll have to be 2 motions, one to hire and one to send.
I think it can be done together. I mean, if you hire him, you gotta
Okay.
send him to the academy. It's put together.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
I can't imagine voting for one and not voting for the other.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Discussion.
What will Mr. Brown's responsibilities be till he goes to the academy?
We're hoping to get him in the late May class.
Okay. So he won't be working unsupervised, or
Pardon me?
he'll be working with another officer?
Yes, he'll be
till
with
that
another
time?
officer.
I do want to ask one question, because we had this before. You ain't gonna plan on going down there to the academy and then running off on something?
No, sir. I enjoy the people up here. I enjoy the town. It's more my mindset. I guess you'd say I enjoy small town settings.
We've had that happen before. They go to the academy, and the next thing you know, they took off and went somewhere else. They got training now, and I mean, it seems like there's a stopping point.
I done
there.
told him I'd run him down if he did.
Per the new contract that
Right.
he's having
Yeah.
to agree to, if he does, he has to reimburse us
That's right.
Right.
for going to the academy, so
Sounds
I
good.
think we're safe
Luckily, we
with
didn't
that.
get charged anything on the last one because he didn't even stay the first night.
Okay.
And I feel for him because, you know, I know how it is to be homesick and everything, but I really thought he'd stay down there.
Yeah.
Do you need to put, you got a set pay scale, Bo, that you go by, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. We'll call for the vote. Ms. Freda?
Klein,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Farley,
Yes.
and Smalling.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record show that it passes unanimously. Ms. Brown, welcome to the police force in Westmoreland.
I
We're
appreciate
glad to
it.
have you.
Thank you.
Okay,
All right.
Chief, you have Ray Alfamatano.
Yes, sir.
Hey, back there.
I've requested to hire Ray, bring him up to sergeant, or not hire him, but to bring him up to sergeant, and to put him on third shift, not by decision. Ray requested the third shift to help with his family and something he's got going on the side. And I need somebody like Ray on the third shift. We don't have very much supervision on the third shift since I'm not on there anymore. We don't have a supervisor on the third shift. I'd like to keep Ray on the second shift, but like I said, he requested to be on the third shift, and I'd like to fulfill his request if it's all right with the council and mayor.
Okay.
I make a motion to make Ray sergeant on third shift. His pay will go up to what, Benny?
$14.81.
$14.81.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Thought I was gone.
Rapture.
I'm ready, but I didn't want to go right now.
Any other discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Harrison,
Yes.
Farley,
Yes.
Smalling,
Yes.
and Klein.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record show that it passed unanimously. Congratulations, Sergeant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. You're doing a great job, buddy.
Next item on the agenda is the Tri-County LED lights. Tri-County Electric, I don't see a representative here from Tri-County Electric, is offering an opportunity to Westmoreland to install LED lights for our street lights. Last year, our annual budget, or this year for our annual budget for street lights is $98,000. We have what is called metal halide lights, and I have a breakdown of all the different kinds that we have. We have 72 400 watt, and we have 76 175 watt, and we already have 56 watt LEDs, so we have 6 of those. There is a lot of information that is out about LED lights. The reason that we are looking at this is, number one, metal halide lights are like mercury vapor lights. They've been phased out by the government. Even though our lighting system for, I'm going to guess, what, 70% of our lights is fairly new. They're less than, what, 5 years old, 6 years old. In the very near future, you won't be able to buy replacement parts for them. So at that point, we're going to be moving on and purchasing what will be on the market at that time, which at this time LED and halogen lights seemed to be the only way to go. I ran into this over in Trousdale County when I got ready to replace the lights in the parking lot, and we had 400 watt metal halide lights over there, and they didn't have any replacements. So we had to move to the new design. What Tri-County has offered to Westmoreland, the company, and it's a Cooper Lighting product that's offering the fixture, they are offering to buy back our existing lights at a pretty good amount on the dollar. So the question is, do you want to save what we have and purchase as we go later, or do we want the opportunity to sell what we have back to them now and them install the new LED lights? Cost savings, like I said, our budget this year is $98,000. They are forecasting a $19,264.86 savings for us if we convert to these lights. So I'm going to round it off and call it $19,000 to $20,000. There's two ways of looking at it. We still have several areas of the city that are dark, so we could install more lights in those areas, or we could definitely use the cost reduction on the budget for that line item and leave things the way we have them. Now, I asked the council at the last meeting to travel to Lafayette and look at their lighting system. Not all of their system over there has been converted over, but the LED lights seem to have more of a concentrated beam. So that's the reason that I wanted everyone to see them before we brought it to the table tonight, so they would know exactly what we're looking at. So with that being said, I don't know how long Tri-County will leave this on the table. I think they're making the offer to, I think it is Salina that they're offering it to, and they're offering it to Westmoreland. So it's going to be pretty much a quick decision for someone. So, but I don't think Salina actually has the lights that they'll be selling back. So it will be a new purchase for them. The way that we pay for our street lights, we pay basically 15% of what the total investment is by Tri-County. They have a formula that is used, and it's based on a kilowatt hour of 0.07 cents, and if they replace all of the fixtures, it will be $416,672.40 would be the rate for Westmoreland. And the energy cost would drop significantly. Right now it runs about $4,000. It'll drop to about $1,500 if I'm reading these figures correctly, and we will use less kilowatt hours energy. The only problem is because the lighting system is relatively expensive and we pay the 15%, then the cost per month that we're paying of our 15%, and the way it's broken down, we pay 1/12 of that 15% per month. That cost will actually go up, and I think that's about $15 per fixture. So we'll be paying less, even though we're paying more for the maintenance side of it as they keep it up. So I'm going to open the floor to the council. If they have questions, if they want to vote, we'll vote. If they want to table it, we'll table it. but I wanted to bring it up and talk about the cost and the benefits, and I have this information if y'all want to look at any of it. The engineer at Tri-County did that, and you may had rather wait and allow Tri-County representative to come and check with the council. And I know there's been some concerns about safety with LEDs. LED lamps are like mercury vapor, metal halide, fluorescent, halogen. They all have an inherent safety factor with them. I don't know if that is a big issue or not. I haven't read all the statistics on it, but know that that's always a concern too.
The lights that are currently not converted to the new ones, will they follow the same pay structure as the ones that we agree to swap out with Tri-County, or is this pay structure based on their swap out plan?
What you will do, you will probably pay as they install the new fixtures, then the pay would be adjusted per fixture.
Okay.
Because you can see they keep an accurate account for kilowatt hours and then the amount of the.
So as we finish the project with the newer lights that are not the most recent ones, that will actually change.
Right, and also there again, you will lose. They're basically going to change them out for us free of charge.
Yes.
Because they're selling ours back to the company. It's a buyback program.
But
because ours is so new.
But the ones that are not currently converted to the most recent upgrade will have to pay an installation fee for those.
I don't think so, because they've offered the package as a whole.
Okay, so they're gonna.
Right, and they said from start to finish, 90 days it would be complete.
Okay, I understand.
One thing we need to think about, if the lights we have now have been discontinued, if we don't go on this program a couple of years down the road, when those die, we're gonna have to buy these
Anyway,
at full price.
Yeah.
With an
We're gonna have-
installation fee.
Plus the installation fee, so now seems like an awful good opportunity to do something. Mr. G.D. Denning used to have a saying, don't be the first to jump on the new, but don't be the last to let go of the old. So we're sort of in that situation here. We don't want to wait so long that then we end up losing a good deal and a good opportunity.
Sure. Did anyone have an opportunity to go look at those
I
lights?
looked at them. They look good. Now, the way that some of those in the FET's got, they're turned up. You know what I'm saying? They're not just like ours hanging over the road. And they are, those that they turn up, it makes a bigger spot that it lights up. I don't know what they do with these street things now.
LEDs are normally
Yeah.
much brighter
They are a lot brighter.
than other lights.
Okay.
Seems like it sounds like it's almost gonna sort of even out. We're gonna pay a little bit more for the newer lights, but the energy savings is gonna offset that. So we're gonna have newer, brighter lights for somewhat close to the same we're paying
Yeah.
probably now anyway.
And I was noticing last night over by Dollar General, some of our street lights are already out.
Oh, yeah.
So, and right now, we're probably okay. We're still able to find parts, and the bulb supply is plentiful right now because manufacturers did put back several. They had several on the shelf, but it's just like the 100-watt incandescent bulbs. You just can't find one anymore, and that's what will happen with these. They will be phased out. And Paul Thompson did say that they're already starting to feel the crunch, so.
Well, I can tell you the 100-watt bulbs, it's obvious where they're at in town because they're almost non-existent compared to the other newer lights that
Yeah.
we got. Those 100 watts, they're very dim.
I'll flicker off and on half the night and then
Yeah.
come on and go off.
Well, I'll stick my neck out there. I'll make a motion while the opportunity is available to us that we take their offer on this and let them switch us over to the new LEDs.
Okay, we have a motion.
A second.
We have a proper second. Any other discussion? We'll call for the vote.
Farley,
Yes.
Smalling,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
and Harrison.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Ms. Cody, would you like to come up and ask about the farmer's market fees?
How are you this evening? I'm Cody Kirk, and as we discussed at the work study meeting, we're trying to put together a farmer's market we're trying to kick off the 1st of May to coincide with the festival that's happening that weekend. We've had positive feedback, positive encouragement, and I guess this evening the issue would be to ask the council if you would consider waiving the fees that apparently are in place for this type of event. If that would meet your approval, then that's my request for this evening.
How much is the fees, Tim?
It depends on what type of event it is. Right now it stands at 7. If it's going to be, is it a one-day event?
It's going to be a continuing event through the summer months on Tuesdays and Fridays.
Instead of doing a special event permit, I would probably recommend getting a type of business license that covers you. What is that, Brita? It's
Business license is $15.
there's another type to cover.
A peddler's license?
It's similar to a peddler's license, but it's an actual permit other than.
You're not
peddler's
thinking about a
license.
transit vendor?
Transient
No,
vendor.
that's for only for out-of-state
Out-of-state,
vendors. I
so,
learned that today in my class.
If we keep waiving fees, then we're going to just keep running into waiving fees for everyone. So instead of doing a special event permit at 75, then I would recommend the peddler's permit at 25.
Okay. What we kind of discussed was we were going to do this for what 90 days, see if it works, or 30 days, or.
Right. I believe it was 90 days, but I
90.
could be mistaken on that.
If you wanted to waive them for 90 days to see if it works, then you know that wouldn't be a bad idea.
And then maybe, we'd have to plan if this does work and we continue, then we'd have to figure out what kind of business license to get.
Okay, and we
I'll-
would certainly go
I'll-
into compliance with whatever is
Okay.
required.
I'll leave that decision up to the council.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to let her go for 90 days.
I'll second the motion to waive the permit fees for 90 days.
We have a motion and a second to waive the farmer's market permit fees for 90 days. And it's going to start on May the 1st.
May 1st, yes.
So August the 1st, does that sound right?
August.
We'll, is it August the 1st then?
Be no garden in my house.
We'll see what we've got. Any other discussion? Okay, if you'll call the vote.
Smalling,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
and Farley.
Yes.
4 yes.
Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Adam, the next thing on the agenda is to advertise for a garbage truck driver. This comes about because Thomas is going to be transferring to the sewer plant, and we're going to need a replacement. So we want to advertise that in the paper, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
What are we gonna do about the other full-time that I lost to? Are we gonna try to get somebody for that too? Need to advertise for that, or? But we're still too short. I mean, even if we get a garbage truck driver, we're still gonna be too short.
So you're actually 3 short when Thomas moves?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Council members, you want to talk about that now, or wait till we get to the that portion of the meeting?
I think we should wait till that portion of the meeting.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to advertise for a garbage truck driver, appropriate CDL?
I'll make that motion.
Go ahead.
Motion.
I'll second the motion.
Now we go get your vote in
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, call for the vote. All in favor of advertising the position, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? But the motion, the record show the motion passed unanimously. Ms. Frida, if you'll get that placed in the paper for us?
Is this for full-time basis?
Yes.
It needs to be known too that they will have to do, manual labor, just like everybody else too, you know, they won't be just driving a truck. And they'll be on call and all that too. I'm gonna get to put that in the newspaper.
We'll have to work up the scope of
Yeah.
duties.
Okay.
Mayor, if I may, in the past, I've checked, I can do local checks for the CDL drivers. A lot of places now, they require whoever puts in as a CDL holder to drive a truck to provide a certified copy of their driving history along with it.
Okay.
That may be something you'll add in the paper as to qualification.
Okay.
Because there has been a lot of problems in the past with stuff being on lengthy records with some of them.
Thank you. Have a date for cleanup day?
May 9th, from 8 to 12. We'll get our normal containers that we always get from TDS. We had talked about maybe using one garbage truck instead of getting 2 containers, but I'd hate to not have enough there, and then so we still managed to get 2, and just if we get 2, we're going to have to pay for them anyway. Whether they, you know, so we might as well. I think we just need to get 2 of them in case we want to get, and then if we get overrun, then we'll use one of the garbage trucks. But I'd hate to not have enough there.
Is that gonna be at the Everson Springs?
Yes, the
Road?
new building.
Public Works building?
Yeah, we had it there last year. It worked out pretty good.
Is that something we even need to vote on?
We have in the past, I don't know if we necessarily have to, unless it's a type of liability or anything.
I think we voted on it in the past because it does require some overtime for that Saturday.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve cleanup day for May the 9th.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for a cleanup day to be May the 9th from 8 to 12 at the Everson Springs Public Works Building. Any discussion?
I will also note that in the paper, when we are announcing it, we state that the elderly or disabled can call City Hall and be put on a pickup list where you all go out and manually pick up their roadside garbage since they can't get it there. But they have to let us know before
Yeah.
we're able to do that.
And we need to probably put in there no tires or shingles or paint, because they won't take nothing like that either.
I think we usually state that.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it is the elderly and disabled.
Okay. Yeah, that's very good. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, like sign? Let the record reflect that it passes unanimously. Next item, a raise for Jackie Farley.
I would like for y'all to consider giving Jackie another $1 an hour, because since I've started doing what I'm doing, it's taking more of my time, and he's started running the backhoe for me, which I still run it on things where it takes, you know, a lot of difficulty or something, but he's been a load of help as far as helping run the other backhoe now, so he's a good worker and he deserves every penny he gets. So I'd just like for y'all to consider that.
What was you asking?
$1 more than what, yeah.
Here's one thing I've got here, and I know Jackie works hard, because I've seen him work. But if we do this, then Tom's gonna come up.
Tom can't run a backhoe.
I'm not saying that, but Tom's gonna want a raise. Tommy's been here longer.
I know a lot of people do it off seniority. I go off who deserves it, you know, and you get out there and work with us, you'll see who deserves a raise. And I'm not saying that Shane doesn't and that Jamie don't either, because they're hard workers too.
I know that, but that's my thing. You give a raise to one that's gonna knock him over somebody that's been here longer.
I would kind of like to see a better pay scale anyway. I mean, you know, I'm not saying it's just like the police officer, I'm not saying they don't deserve what they get either, but we're underpaid compared to everybody in the whole city. My job and every other department. And that's why there's never been nobody stay here too. You got one man that's ever put any time here.
I mean, that, like I said, I know he's a good worker because I've been out there and worked with him. But that's what you're getting into. You're getting into one, then you're gonna get into Miss Deborah. She's the low man on the totem pole way down. And the further I look, and she's been here a while too.
I can't vote, but I think that what he's looking at is because there's increased responsibility,
Right.
not just
Right, I see that.
seniority.
Yeah, because he's taking over.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you check into that program for him to become certified, the certification for backhoe?
I hadn't yet. I hadn't got to yet. But I mean, you either know how to run one or you don't. I mean, I don't know who offers those classes or whatever. But
Well, it's like you know how to do backflow preventer.
yeah, I mean, some things you got to learn by being on them, and that's backhoe's one of them. You know, you can go to all the classes you want to, but I've been on one for about 12, 13 years. You know, and it ain't worth nothing because I don't have no certificate, but it's still, you know, it's hard to find people that can run equipment. He's worth every penny you give him, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
And that's my opinion.
I know in the past, anytime we gave raises like this, kind of off the cuff, it's cost us a whole lot more than what they were asking for. So I'd like some more time to consider that type of raise in the budget.
I'd like to make this suggestion. We're fixing to start working on the budget. You said that you feel like you'd like to see a better pay scale for your entire department.
Yeah.
Since we're so close to budget time, instead of just giving Jackie a raise tonight, let us think on that, because I sort of agree with Ricky. I know from experience, sometimes this opens up a can of worms. Let's work on a pay scale that's fair to everybody, and let's look at that. And I'm not saying I don't want to help Jackie, I want to help him, but let's see if we can't do something that's fair to everybody across the board for your entire department. I totally agree with you. Your department, for what you do, is underpaid, extremely underpaid. But that's what I would like to see us do.
Have you been working on that pay scale?
Yes, I've called 2 or 3 other cities.
Okay,
And,
because I need
I'll-
to get that right away.
Yeah. Well, I told you I'd meet with you one day, mean you could go over it a little bit. But
Yeah, I just need your number so I can
Okay.
plug them in.
all right.
Okay. Well, I guess that one dies from a motion. Purchase 2 isolation meters.
We've done been over this. I'd like to buy 2 isolation meters to go to Coleytown and to New 31 past Pleasant Grove to isolate those sections of water line to help us find leaks a little faster. And I think I gave y'all prices last at the work study, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
If I don't, I've got them in the truck, but I didn't bring them
I think I've got over 5,000 or 6,000.
They're about 5,300 apiece.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
What part of your budget would you take it out of?
I'm uncertain at this time.
Now, with the county's water line extensions on Pleasant Grove, they won't install those.
They're gonna put one in at the beginning of Pleasant Grove to catch all of Pleasant Grove when they lay that line. They're gonna put a new one in. We told them the other day to put a new one in right there. We figured that in their grant, but I don't know about the.
He wants to isolate 31E.
Yeah, I'd like to isolate 31E in Coleytown Road.
31 in Coleytown.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, right past Pleasant Grove.
On Coleytown, you're gonna isolate the new line, right?
The meter will be at the very beginning of Coleytown.
Then have you ever figured out how many meters we've got on that old line?
I don't have a clue and don't know who to even ask.
What I'm trying to do is get it to where we can, cause I know that old line is galvanized, and you know what happened down there, didn't have to do much to touch it, and it broke all to pieces.
We do need to get them swapped over, but I don't know who is and who ain't, and really, it's gonna be hard to figure out unless we go dig them up, and you're talking about a lot of time.
Well, okay, we'll work on it.
Is this something
I'll
else
see
that
what-
could possibly
I'll
wait till budget time?
Yes.
If you were to get order of tomorrow, how soon would you get them?
It would take, I'm gonna say at least probably 3 or 4 weeks to get them.
Okay, and this is something that you had to have someone else put in, correct?
We will probably put them in ourselves.
Okay.
I know Buddy told us at a meeting one night, these were would be very helpful.
Yes, and they put in several, so I know it will help.
Yeah.
with them.
And these are also the type of meters that you don't have to actually go look at them.
When we get SCADA, you can convert these, you can put the head on these meters and they'll go right to the SCADA just like everything else is
Yeah,
going to.
yeah, so it would really help us.
And SCADA's
Water-wise.
gonna be installed on that
On the
second
next.
phase of that
Yes.
grant
Yeah.
with rural development.
Right.
I mean, with what we're going through with water right now, everything we can show the state that we're doing to try to save water or try to
Doing
find
good,
leaks or isolate problems
Yeah.
will go a long way.
Well, just say, if you get a leak, just say out Coleytown, but we don't know where, we've got miles and miles of water line, so if you get a bust out Coleytown or something, we may chase it for 2 weeks before we figure out where it's at,
That line's around trees, behind houses.
Every which way.
The
The one down 31.
It sounds like you got 2 lines out
You
there.
got two
There
all the
is
way down.
there is an old, I don't know how many still over there, because they laid I don't know, we're gonna have to try to figure out what, but, I don't know who we can talk to know who's on the old ones and who's not, unless we go follow those services back. And then you're talking about taking 2 or 3 men out there for a week or 2 straight, just digging up
I
service
get a chance
lines.
I go down through there. I know Andy's on that galvanized, but I don't know about David.
That line
Somewhere
goes from a
along that
6
far
to a
line.
4 to a 2, back
Oh,
to
yeah.
a 4. It is,
Is there a valve on it to shut it off?
yeah.
It's all up there about that fire hydrant.
We'll find out.
But we
We'll
don't
know
think
who-
there's,
I'll
but we
find
don't
out
think
how
there's a
many
valve on the
I'll find
2
that
inch.
out.
If we could just kill the 2-inch galvanizer you're talking
Right.
about, then we would know. When those people called and didn't have water, we would know, hey, they're on that line, but
Right.
there's not a valve for the 2 inch.
Yeah.
The valves are on the bigger line, the 6 inch.
I'll check with them, see what we got. See where it starts. I believe it's that fire hydrant.
But yeah, I mean, that could wait till budget time on those,
Yeah.
because here in a little bit, I'm gonna just tell y'all about a whole lot more money that's got to be spent.
Okay. Moving on, mayor's mileage.
Make a motion to pay the mayor's mileage.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. Everyone in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like sign. Hearing none, the motion, let the record reflect it passes unanimously. Industrial Development Board.
I'll go through this. I'll go quickly but efficiently.
Thank you, Amy.
Do you have another one?
I'll give one to Miss Frida. It's not really. I'll give our report quickly and then answer your questions. We did have our community meeting Tuesday night from 6:30 to about 8:30, I guess, and can't say that we really come to any kind of consensus afterwards, other than people are getting tired, myself included. But after the meeting and listening to a couple of days after the people talk, I still feel the need to make a few clarifications here tonight in public. Number one being the industrial board exists to manage property. We do not promote events. But other civic groups, like the chamber, are welcome to host flea markets out there if they want to. I know that's been going around for a long time. Somebody put on a flea market. Well, the IDB cannot put on a flea market. But anybody else in town can. Any other group in town can. So it's not on us to do that. Now, Jan has been working to try to find people to do it, but the industrial board can't do it. When this was set up early on, you well know that the industrial board was doing some of these things. They were hosting mule days. They were trying to be the event promoters. You cannot do those things. That was wrong. We are property managers. Most everyone who leases the facility out there is a for-profit entity, from Rain Power to Easy Tech to Reese Brothers, and every promoter that leases it is there for profit.
Yeah.
So for people to say that they don't want their tax dollars to support private industry is unfounded, because it's already doing that. Everybody over there is there to make money. And I have included in this packet tonight a copy of the business plan. And guys, there's a lot of stuff flying around, and there's a lot of he said, she said stuff, and I wasn't here in the beginning in 2010. I've only been involved since last year, and listening to people I found is not necessarily the best way to go. But it's written down in black and white right there in front of you. And according to the business plan, the expo exists to replace manufacturing dollars lost in the community. And you can see that because I've underlined it for you. In item number 7 under goals and objectives. That's what it was created for. Furthermore, also in the business plan, it's been stated by several people that the Expo Center was intended to run at a deficit. And I'll call your attention to the business plan, and item number 4, where it talks about the cost of the site and the building, and the last very sentence says, also making a positive contribution to the city budget by reducing the exposure of the $50K budget line the city has established. So whoever wrote this thing had always intended that expo helped to pay off the debt of it. So they never intended it to operate in deficit every year.
Right.
Now, also according to the business plan, you'll see a budget that's outlined. And I've also included a budget that the industrial board approved last year. And they're right on top of each other from what the original people thought it was going to take. And I didn't even see that business plan last year when I created the budget. I just did it based off what we were spending, and they are right on top of each other. So we have a pretty good handle of what we're spending. And we know that we're operating at a deficit every year. And I will remind some of you were on the council last year, some of you were not. About this time a year ago, the IDB appointed a committee to review the contract. That committee was made up of chamber members, council members, industrial board members, and private citizens. They reviewed the contract, they made adjustments to the contract, and they did that in order to try to curtail the financial losses we were incurring over there. That's why the contract was revised. It was not revised solely by the industrial board. As a matter of fact, the majority of the people working on it were either chamber members, council members, or private citizens. And I remember, because I was the one industrial board member working with them, trying to bring up the discussion of how long are we going to go once this contract's in place. And we did discuss then. Some people said it goes indefinitely. There's no option. It goes indefinitely. Some people said, let's give it a year. I'm not here to give my opinion tonight. I'm giving you the facts. I'll reserve my opinion for later, except not tonight. And I will say also, when it comes to the industrial board operating at a deficit, last year we were in a hole $20,000. Some of the very same people that spoke Tuesday night and said it was always intended to operate at a deficit. When the industrial board approached this body last year and said we're $20,000 in the hole, guess what we were told? Go get a loan. So guys, you got to call a spade a spade. It has to be decided by you all. Are you going to fund the deficits, or are you not going to fund the deficits? And that's something the industrial board does not have the power of taxation. All we can do is take in what money we're able to get off leases and rents. I have broke it down for you, and I've done a little research. I contacted the GNRC, and I've copied that email there and added into that packet from Ron Fultz and Mr. Dennis Hopper. If this body so chooses, you can raise taxes to fund the industrial board or the expo center. You can do it on the basis of creating economic development. Not just to throw money at it, but you can say, we feel that the expo center operating as an event center improves the economy, and you can fund it. So that's there in that email from Ron and Dennis. What we will need, I've outlined for you in item number 7, is about $80,000. $40,000 of that's for upgrades and improvements. I know at the meeting I said 20, but for those of you that were there, remember Mr. Lyle standing up and saying that that's probably a lowball estimate. So I didn't lowball it again. Another $12,000 of that is for a budget shortfall, and I've included the last 2 years' finances for you to look at to prove to you that our shortfall has been about $12,000 every year, or for the last 2 years. Now, that budget shortfall in the past has been made up with sales on gov deals, and as Mr. Lyles shared with you Tuesday night, that's about gone. All the good stuff, anyway. And the scrap metal right now is literally dirt cheap. So, and right now, we're in the hole roughly 6,000 plus, and so that's consistent with what we've been in the deficit, about 12 to 15,000 a year. Another 15,600 for payroll and 12,400 for a promotion budget, which we do not currently have. And by my calculations, based on what Brian and I discussed, this could be achieved with a roughly 18% tax increase, should you choose that. And I told Brian I was going to come forward with some suggestions tonight that I intend to bring to the industrial board for their opinion. And I'll throw it out there to you tonight too. I tell you, I'm getting, like Mr. Lyle said, this is wearing, okay? And to hear the attacks the industrial board's been taking in this community is certainly unfounded. It's not fair. And I'm not one to take things lightly. I've devoted the last year and a half, a big portion of my life, more than I should have, to this thing. And it's got to be settled this year. Whichever way this town wants it to go, it's got to get done fast. Jan's, and I can understand she's having a hard time because the finances are in such disarray, and she don't know if it's going to be there in 6 months, and neither do I, really. And we don't have the money to put into it. Last time we couldn't get a loan without you all co-signing for us, and unless that's another possibility here, I don't know. I don't know if it is or not. So that leaves us with very few options for financing. And really, it all comes back to you all. Are you going to fund the Expo Center? And that's option number 1. The Expo operates at a deficit, and the city subsidizes the operating expenses. Just to operate as we're currently operating without any improvements whatsoever, we need an additional $12,000 to $15,000 a year. And that's, again, not giving Jan or anyone else for that matter a promotional budget, just hoping that we can increase rentals. Or you increase, either you increase the property tax or some other form of taxation, or if the city has $80,000 laying around, And it takes about that to do what we need to do. Option number 2, and guys, these are just, I'm throwing options out there. I'm not advocating any one of them. The city purchases the facility back from the IDB at an agreed upon rate that would allow the IDB to get out from under it, and the city could run the facility however they see fit. County would, in my opinion, would not be entitled to the repayment of the grant because you're a government entity and not a for-profit. And I think since you all are paying the bill anyway, that we could work out some kind of arrangement to just get rid of the debt that the industrial board has on it. But still, you're left with a $12,000 to $15,000 a year deficit that would no longer be the industrial board's problem, it'd be the council's sole problem. Option number 3, the chamber purchases the facility from the IDB at an agreed upon rate, and they could promote the facility as they see fit. Again, the county grant would not be in jeopardy of being repaid because, and y'all correct me right here if I'm wrong, but I figure they're a nonprofit. I could be wrong.
501c3.
Okay, so they're a nonprofit, the grant would not be in jeopardy of having to be repaid. This is number 4, and this is a wild suggestion, but it's a possibility. As a body, you all, and then Mr. Bradley can correct me here if I'm wrong, because I'm no lawyer nor city manager, so I don't know about taxation, but you could institute some type of special tax that tax the retail, restaurant, any kind of advertising industry in this town, anything that benefits from events at the expo, give them a special tax to fund. And again, when people stand up and speak, it's always the gas stations are benefiting, the restaurants are benefiting, grocery stores, newspapers, all the whole 9 yards. So, special retail tax. Number 5, we could market the facility for other uses. As you well know, this is going to require the permission of the county, but that's another option. And we will not know exactly what can be accomplished through that without an opportunity to be able to do it. But right now, we don't have that opportunity. The last one here, and I am taking a risk saying this out in public, but I'm going to anyway. I do not want to sell the facility, but let's be realistic, it's an option. If we sold the facility, we do understand it would have to be sold for an amount that would pay everybody back, including the county. And that would be to the tune of about we'd have to at least get $600,000 out of it. That would pay the county back, pay our in-kind debt back, pay the gas loan back, and pay the note off. And, but the good side of this thing, and again, I've never advocated selling it, and I still really don't, but this is an option. The private ownership would mean the city would have as much as a $47,000 to $127,000 positive swing in the budget. And here's how I come up with that. You'd have $38,000 you're saving roughly on debt retirement. You'd have another $3,000 you're currently paying in utilities you'd be saving on. And you would have an additional $6,000 plus worth of property taxes you could be collecting. And there'd be no need to raise the taxes by $80,000. And number 3, there'd be no more fighting because there wouldn't be anything to fight over.
Thank you.
So, I realize also, and I'll state it, that if one of the sell options is approached, we do realize we have to approach the Reese brothers and negotiate terms with them. And so that is understood by at least myself that would require his input as well. But regardless of which direction we choose as a council and industrial board or community, we got to make a decision, and it needs to be made very soon. And it's hard for the industrial board to move forward in a direction even when we don't know where our funding's coming from. It's hard for Jan to promote the facility when she don't know, you know, is it going to be here 6 months out or 3 months out or 12 months out? And I told her I don't know, and I don't. If this body would go ahead and make the decision whether or not you're going to fund it, and again, I showed you the business plan. Now, just because that was written down 5 years ago doesn't mean it can't change, and this council can vote to fund the deficit. But if you so choose to do that, we need to know post haste so that we can give Jan to go ahead and start signing contracts and get the word out that it's here for the next 6 months or it's here for the next 12 months. I agree with a lot of people, if this is the route we go, we sit down and give it some very strict parameters and metrics to measure its success rate by, and stick to it. Because as I shared with you, we had this conversation a year ago, and we're worse off now than we were a year ago. And the same exact ideas are being thrown out again. It's everybody sit down, it's everybody work, and I'm open for doing that. I'll sit down and talk all day long about it. But somewhere along the line, we've got to make a decision. You all were elected by our citizens to make decisions. The industrial board was appointed by you to make decisions, and it's time we do what we were put here to do and make decisions. We've gotten all the input we could possibly get, and probably more than we had time together. So we've got to make some hard decisions. And I can't take any worse black eyes than I've already got. So the industrial board is going to be poised to start doing that. And we need to know whether or not you all are going to fund it. Other than that, I guess everything's going good. As I reported last time, we have no water leaks over there. But we do have a busted door and a whole other list of stuff, but no water leaks. So you have the business plan there before you. You have some suggestions, albeit some of them a stretch. They're still suggestions. I'm open to listening to any other suggestions people might have that are feasible and workable. I understand that it may not be possible for the chamber to buy it, but it is an option. If they all band together and say, we feel strongly enough about this, I believe it's been referred to as a gold mine before, then we'd work out some kind of good rate, since they are a civic organization here and they're a nonprofit. Brees Brothers contract does give them the first right of refusal. I don't know how that would come into play if we were considering giving it back to the city. I imagine we would need to sit down and discuss that with him. But nonetheless, there you have the industrial report. Our next meeting is Monday night, the 27th, at 6 o'clock at the Expo Center.
Is there any information in the contract about the buyout clause other than they have first right of refusal on the purchase?
And again, I'm no lawyer. I didn't write the contract, nor did I sign it, but I have read through it multiple times. The only provision I find in there is it says terms must be negotiated, but no hard dollar amounts. And I guess that would leave us bringing lawyers into the mix to figure out what's fair. So, and that's all that I found in there. He does have the ability to say who can and can't operate in the 30,000 square foot when his mule sales are going on. That is an addendum to the contract, albeit in pencil. It's still there and signed. So that's going to lead to heartache as we draw closer to January, as it's led to the last 3 years, or 2 years anyway. Because you know the swap meet wants that date also. And last year, I feel like we bent over backwards to try to accommodate him by figuring out a workaround and still honor the contracts that were already in place. Again, there it just says it has to be negotiated. And I'll state publicly again, I'm proud to have Brees Brothers in Westmoreland. I enjoy the fact that they sell the mules here and we have that mule sale here. And I think he would understand too that if we can't pay the bills, then he can't be here either. So I'll entertain any other questions you all have for me.
I'd just like to make a comment. Andy walked into a terrible situation that has been developing for several years now, and I want to commend him publicly for trying to work this out among the public. The only thing I left the meeting with the other night is this is basically, as far as this community is concerned, a no-win situation, because no matter which way this thing goes, there's going to be people in town upset over it.
Right.
And I've made the comment, Miss Frida's son David's a basketball official, and David told me one time, said every time I blow my whistle, half the gym loves me and half the gym hates me, but I still have to blow my whistle because that's the job he's been given. Well, we've got a job that we've been given, And we sort of, I'm gonna allude to the expo center almost like the little tunnel. We gave birth to this thing and now we've just sort of dumped it to the side and said, well, let's see what happens. You know, we got the ball started and then somewhere down the road, we just quit pushing it. So I don't know what the solution is, but something needs to be done. We can't just keep losing money year after year. I don't know if it's, I really don't know the answer either, and I've thought long and hard about this, so.
Well, and I'll say that I understand any business startup operates either break even or slightly a loss every year, as the first few years they start up. I'll give it that. But most new business startups, when you say they operate at a loss, in my mind, that at least means they pay the bills.
Yeah.
There's just no profit. And we're not there to necessarily make a profit, but without a profit, we can't invest money into the little tunnel, because as an industrial board, we could do that to promote tourism, because we have no money to invest there. We could invest money in downtown to spruce things up, but we can't now because we have no excess funds to invest downtown. So if you're right, if that facility over there could ever get in the black, it could drastically benefit this town. But if it was always meant to operate in the negative, the industrial board will never be able to take excess funds and put them somewhere else in town. We'll always be coming back here with our hand up. Now, I'll give it this. If it can generate enough tourism and tax dollars spent within our corporate limits, then your tax base is replenished and you should have all that we need to fund it. And as I calculated that, based on, in the business plan, if you read through it, whoever wrote that estimated on $50 a day per head. I didn't quite go that high because my wallet's a little tighter than that. I estimated $15 a head per day, and come up with the fact that we need about 5,000 people here every other weekend. Now, if you want to go $50 per head, okay. That'll knock that down drastically, but still, we should be seeing enough tax revenue generated from that so that when the industrial board comes before you to say we need some money, it should be there to help. But you're right, Mr. Harrison, nonetheless, right now we got to pay the gas bill.
Mhm.
And so I know it's not on the agenda for tonight, but whether it's on the work, special meeting at the work session or wherever it's at, we're going to need some help from the city to cover that gas bill or a portion of that gas bill. Mr. Taylor said he would work with us on a month-to-month payment, and he would waive the late fees, but we're going to have to start making some form of effort to pay that. So it wouldn't necessarily be the whole $6,000 up front unless y'all chose to. But if we could work some kind of number out to do that in a later date, a very soon later date. Also, Tony Bennell negotiated with North Central to knock off the security payment for the next 2 months, I think, or 3 months. So that just started.
Yes,
Okay,
the one I
so-
just paid.
So we've got 3 months where we've got a $600 break per month, and then that other $600 kicks back in to repay our security bill, our security equipment and installation. So I know I shared with Jerry before the election, this is the gorilla in the room, and he's starting to act up a little bit. So we've got, just financially it's got to be dealt with. And I'll say it again in public because my words like to get twisted at Pierce. If it can survive as an event center, then let it survive. If not, then we've got to try something else. Or, is the last option I presented to you, put it on the market.
And I'm gonna say something now, Andy, he put a lot of effort in this. A lot more than, he probably took a whole lot more than I'd have took. And then he goes to the ball fields and he does all that, 'cause I know I'm his neighbor, he's up and down the road just constant. And he's putting a lot in his community. And he went down yonder to that meeting, and I said I'd support him down there. And I want him to make a decision, or the board out there, and bring it up here and let us see what you got. I'm gonna support you, 'cause you're a smart guy. If you wouldn't, I wouldn't put you out there. But you're putting a lot of time, and I commend you for that time. I know you take your equipment, and a lot of people wouldn't have done that. They wouldn't use their equipment for nothing.
Sure. And I appreciate that, but I can tell you at the bare minimum, we're gonna need some capital to operate through the months to get into the mule sales again, unless somebody signs up. And yeah, Mark Bald is considering the idea of signing up, but I think the uncertainty of it is sort of holding him back, and I understand that. I did share with him if we could put a clause in the contract that if we have to cancel an event 60 days prior or some amount of time prior, that all we would owe him is his deposit. We wouldn't be in danger of being sued for advertising and this, that, and the other. And he said, okay. I don't know how many other people would be willing to do that or if he's really serious, but I believe him. So we're gonna look at adding that provision into the contract at our next meeting, hopefully, and offer that to him to see just how much he's willing to do. But from talking to, I'll be honest with you, the events outside are okay for the community, but from an IDB's perspective, they don't help because it's such a low amount. We gotta have that 30,000 square foot leased out 26 times a year, not back 26 times a year, in order to generate the funds. So, you know, Mr. Klein, or Councilman Klein, in order to answer your question, at the very least, when the industrial board stands back before you again after our meeting, we're gonna be asking for help on the gas bill and to float us for the next few months. In order for us to properly operate this as an event center, it's gonna take considerable funds. And if the city doesn't have them stashed away, or they don't have them in the general fund, then you will have to consider raising taxes. And so that is gonna have to be dealt with sooner or later. If you've got 12 to 15,000 laying around, you can say you're gonna cover it for the next 2 years to operate just the way you are, or however, whatever stipulations you wanna put on it. So, I hate to throw the ball back to your court, but I just did. Because, I mean, it's black and white. We're not generating enough leases for the money, so you all have to give us the money. Or there may be a wealthy benefactor sitting out here somewhere that wants to invest in it. But this will be shared with the industrial board. I just wanted to, this meeting was first, and the time is not on our side right now, so we've got to move quickly. So I'll entertain any other questions.
We did go through the legislative committee, and at this point, we are on the agenda to present the proposal to open it for other options at the county commission meeting.
Correct.
That's what, Monday night?
Yes, sir.
This Monday.
So we need to make a decision, really what we want to do. I know we don't have another meeting before then, but if we're not going to try to push, or the community is not, and it appears that the community is not in unison on this right now, we probably should pull that from the agenda.
Well, just because it gets passed does not mean anything has to happen.
This is true.
It just means you have options. And I'll publicly state that what happened in the legislative committee, in my opinion, solely my opinion, was a black eye on this community. From every conversation I shared with Mr. Holt, we needed to be in unity. And the council voted, the IDB voted, and any citizen has the right to speak. But it did not make us look good in front of the commission. Not as an industrial board and not as a city council, but as a community. I don't know if pulling it off the agenda at such a late hour would make it look even worse. And if I would ask that the community have trust in the industrial board and myself, that just because we get this passed doesn't mean that any industry is going to move in next month. Because as I stated, if it can survive as an event center, then the industry is off the table. And if the council is going to fund it, the deficits, then again, the industry will be off the table. But as Wolfgang shared with you, we're already behind the gun in marketing, not just that facility, but Westmoreland itself. So I'll commit to you all. I'm not the vote on the industrial board. I'm only one, but I'll commit to you all that if we do leave it on the agenda for Monday night and it passes, that we won't try to make any moves until at least the council and the industrial board are in unison.
Okay.
And so I'll leave things alone until then. But to make everybody in Westmoreland happy, not gonna happen. So I know this is a sensitive issue. I'm trying to handle it professionally and courteous, but we need this. Something's gonna happen soon. Any other questions as far as the IDB is concerned? I don't know where we're at on the agenda Monday night. I assume since it was so late, we'll be at the bottom. I'm just assuming, but I don't know where. I'll be there when it's time for the meeting and grab an agenda and see where it falls. As far as the parks are concerned, the bathrooms have been upgraded. I've submitted that invoice to Ms. Frida to get Nikki paid. And so it's got new toilets, new urinals, new sinks, new lights, their own switches so that they go on when somebody walks in and go off when they leave. The faucets are spring loaded so that people can't leave the water on anymore. And hopefully with the new plumbing, there won't be as many pipe bursts because it's all PEX, or most of it's PEX, there's a little bit of copper.
Yeah.
Nikki did fix it, Adam, where you could drain everything, or city did, when it tried to winterize it.
All right.
So you can drain every line in there.
Yeah.
So he made it where it could be winterized easy enough. So we should see some water savings there and some electrical savings there if it's able to be tracked. And so that leaves a little bit of money left in that 20,000, and I'll get you a list at the work session as to what can be done next.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andy.
Is anyone here from the fire department? Sewer plant operator.
Now we got money. Hobby, what about Hobby?
Oh, no. Plants, just as it has been. Last month, we did have some violations because of some heavy rainfall. Too much flow coming into it to treat it exactly like it needed to be, done the best I could do. So we probably will be getting some NOVs from the state on that. Per state, we still need the old generator looked at and removed along with some of the soil that's around it. I talked to Caleb, he's a diesel mechanic, I think. He said he would come down and look in the morning at the generator, and it may actually be worth some money, even though it's got a leak or two here or there that we could put on gov deals or something. And then he's gonna talk to somebody with EPA about how to dispose of just a little bit of the oil that's around it. It's just a little section, but it's not a big deal, but it's something we need to do. We were written up by the state on that. It was also written up about needing a double-sided sign for the outfall to the creek, made and installed. It'll be way under the limit that the mayor can take care of, and I'll be working on that. And we're still working on the aeration units. Just gonna have to have some help. The guy that was gonna help me has found another job. He no longer works for Ward. He's found a really good job, really good. I'm proud for it. The safety rails, and I've discussed it with the mayor, they need to be fixed or replaced as soon as we can. We're going to try to get some quotes on those. We were written up by the state on that also.
Are they loose?
Loose, completely apart, falling, very bad shape. Contract operator that we agreed to hire for the next 2 weeks is ready to run all the test analysis and et cetera next week. I will be available. I'll just be working on my old house for any emergencies that may come up and be 20, 25, 30 minutes away. And that's all I have. Do y'all have any questions, comments, concerns, and or complaints?
Sludge truck running?
Excuse me?
Is it run? Sludge truck?
Sludge truck, oh yeah. Sludge truck's okay. Eventually it's gonna need a clutch. No further than it goes, even though it hauls a lot of weight. I think the sludge truck will last a few more years if you take it easy on it. I mean, you can't just jar down on it. And, you know, Thomas is a Class A CDL driver. I'm sure he knows how to drive the split shift.
Yeah.
And just take it easy on her. I believe she'll be okay.
All right, good deal.
Okay,
Thank y'all.
appreciate it. Public Works.
I had Jerry meet me yesterday morning to look at some tiles on Fincher Drive. It's gonna take about 120 foot of tiling that comes out, his name is Mr. Gray. It's at the end of Fincher Drive. When they put the tile in, it comes out under his driveway and all the tiles have failed and it's washed his driveway out. Yeah, concrete. I'm gonna pull those up and put some new tile in, but it's probably gonna cost, if I don't have to go no bigger than 16 inch, or that's about $990. But I'm probably gonna have to go bigger than that, I figure, once I get them dug up. So I'm gonna have to join back to concrete. I know they're gonna be bigger than that.
Can you dig them out and put that metal in like you done that over the house?
You can, but plastic's cheaper. And it's just a stout too. It's got a liner in the inside of it, smooth liner. Plus, it's got to go off a steep hill, and that plastic will have a little give to it to where metal's not going to. But I was just telling you about Jerry told me to go ahead and get them, but I was just letting y'all know about that. I would like to do something at the bathrooms at the walking track. They're in bad shape. Urinal in the men's side, the urinal's gone. The water fountain out front's tore up. The walls are cut open where water leaks have been fixed in the past. The walls have been cut open and just capped the water lines off. It needs to be replumbed and a urinal put in there and the toilet's fixed, and it needs exactly what Andy just done to the other bathrooms is what it needs. And I've got some pictures on my phone of it if anybody wants to see it, but I know we've got some money left in the park budget, I think. I don't know exactly how much, but I'll find out. But I would like to, I mean, that's gonna cost a pretty good little bit, you know, when we decide to do that. Now the bad news. Station 1, which I've been telling y'all about the vacuum pump that was needed for about the last 2 meetings. Sewage pump in the basement went out just like the other stations have done. And it's the most expensive one. It's higher than the other ones. They were put in 02 is when that one was put in. It went out. It flooded. The station flooded down Tuesday morning. We went down there and everything was flooded like it did during the snows. We got everything fixed. As far as running back right again, went back 3 hours later, it was flooded again. Couldn't figure out what the deal was, so then we got to checking. Sewage pump was shot. Had Jimmy Little come and look yesterday morning. He come and took it apart. He said there ain't no fixing it. It's gone. So we've only got one sewage pump down there now. I don't know what the deal is on sewage pumps this year, but we're getting them all phased out. But you can't. I mean, we can't. If we get much rain, we're not gonna be able to keep up with one pump.
Where's Station 1?
Davis Branch over the hill. Yeah, that way. And I was actually looking today. I found a survey that Airvac did in '97 when John Pullen was supervisor, and I've got it over here in the office. But it tells them that Station 1 was over capacity then in '97, and I don't know how many more have been added to it since then, but I'm sure it's a bunch. We're gonna have to do something on sewer.
You've already got a price on that pump?
I don't have it yet. We got him the gallons per minute today, and he's calling trying to figure up a price on the pump. But I do know it'll be more than the other two because that's the biggest station that we've got. That's the biggest pumps that we got. So I'm sure they're going to be more expensive than the other ones that we bought. The other one in there is just as old as that one is. It was put in a year after that one was. And, the only thing, Jerry, I know, James wanted to work on the, parks this last week or something. Could you let me know if you give like a PO or something so I can kind of keep up
Okay.
with it a little bit? 'Cause I know you give him a PO to buy stuff, and I didn't know nothing about it till yesterday. And that, I mean,
Okay.
so I'd like to be able to keep up with that. Other than that, that's about it.
Yeah. I thought you'd be excited someone's volunteering to do that.
Well, I am
work for
excited.
you.
I'm glad that people want to help. I just want to,
Yeah.
because you told me when you
Well,
first took over, that you wanted
when
to
he
keep up
called,
with
he
the budget.
he was telling me about the nails sticking out, and I could just see a child falling
Yeah.
on one of those. So I just acted
Yeah.
compulsively.
Oh, I'm
so
glad. I'm more than glad
I
they wanna
apologize
help,
for
but
that.
I just
Yeah.
kind of like to know where,
Yeah.
you know where the money's going. That way I can just kind of
Yeah.
keep up with it a little bit.
Were you gonna bring back up your
Huh.
employees needed?
Employees. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the employees need. We need 2 full-time. 2 full-time, and I would like to have a part-time, but if we can get 2 full-time for sure. Well, I mean, if we get 2 full-time, we're just gonna be back to even.
Okay, one of those is for water, one's for sewer.
Yeah.
Now, is this to replace,
Replace Chad and Tom when Tom goes to help Kenny.
so those payroll dollars were already in this year's budget? Were already budgeted.
Did Jad work on this garbage truck?
He did, yes.
Okay, so
he might have been paid straight out of sanitation, all out of sanitation. I had it wrote down.
As a part-time employee.
Part-time,
Okay.
yeah.
The budget line items for the public works is all messed up this year because of all the switching around that's been done within the year.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had the money to pay them, but where they were appropriated and where they went to work is hurt us.
And who's the other person replacing?
Tom and Chad.
Okay, so Thomas was, is that who you're talking about, Thomas going to the sewer
Yes,
plant?
yes.
Okay, that's one we're advertising already.
Uh-huh.
So who else do you need?
Just another, pretty much somebody ride the garbage truck and help us on the days that they're not on the sanitation.
So you're needing 2 people besides the garbage truck driver?
No, just the garbage truck driver and one more
And one
full-time,
other-
and
one
then
more
if I can get a part-time, I need somebody else out there with us full-time. So if I could get a full-time to start helping us, because I mean, you like Thomas's job, he's not out there with us none hardly, because I mean, it takes pretty well all week to do the garbage. So if I get somebody to take his place and then get a full-time to come and just help us, and then get one more part-time, just 2 days a week to ride the garbage truck, if you can find it. Of course, it's hard to find. I mean, I went through applications today. It's hard to find somebody to work 2 days a week, but
Wishes of the council on this. We have money in the budget.
Well, as I said earlier, they're overworked and underpaid, and they need sufficient number of people to do what we're asking them to do. So I make a motion that we advertise for 1 full-time and 1 part-time, just labor.
yeah.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Are we gonna be able to pay them? the rest of the year, please? Have we got the money to pay?
Yeah,
Be
because
close.
we had been paying that full time and
Okay.
it was terminated.
Right.
And then,
But he was only hired as a part-time to start with, though, right?
Start with.
Right, yeah, he ended stay full-time long. They
then we
closed one.
had 2 part-time. And we were just down to 1 part-time after he become full-time. Like I said, it messed up.
Okay. Any other discussion?
But yes, to answer your question, there is money to pay him the rest of the budget year. Then we would have to regroup with the new budget year and figure out who's going where on the pay line.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Klein,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Farley,
Yes.
and Smalley.
Yes.
4 yes.
Motion carries. We'll advertise for some positions.
I give Kenny a schedule. I'll get you one too for the sewer plant.
Okay.
You know, I figured he'd bring it up, but he didn't. I about forgot about it, but I gave him a schedule earlier.
I was gonna bring it up at the work study and discuss what we need to do to prevent that from happening again.
When you go up here and check these bathrooms, check those commodes and see what size line is going out of that commode. That's one, well, I know Jack and him, anything stops it up, I mean, just anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it look like that pipe ought to be a whole lot bigger than what's going out. I mean, like anything
If
stops
we
it up.
have time, I mean, we could probably do the work ourselves, but I mean, we're gonna have, we need to take that wall, the plywood wall, out and
Yeah, I know what you're
re-plumb it,
talking about.
because it's been cut, the wall's been cut in 4 or 5 different places.
Right. Well, if you're gonna
and
do
capped
that,
off and,
if that's a 2-inch line, then it probably is, that, you know what I'm saying?
that's all
comes
that's all
out.
it goes out of?
Yeah,
Sure
that
it's
needs
30,
to be
sure.
something bigger than that. I mean,
We'll-
if you're
we'll
gonna
check
fix
it.
it right.
Yeah. All right.
Adam, I got one question for
What's
you.
that?
When are you on call?
When am I on call? 1 day a week, just like everybody else.
When though?
I don't know, we just change that 1 day a week.
Okay. Well, it's been brought to my attention this past week that the days that you're on call, you pay your employees $20 per day to take your own call.
No, I pay them $10 a day if they want it. Some of them want the extra overtime, so I just give them $10 and they take my own call.
That needs to stop tonight.
Why?
It's not
I
professional.
didn't, well, y'all never said nothing to Kenny when he done it though. I didn't know.
Wasn't aware it was being done.
Huh?
I
Why is
was not
that?
aware.
Why is that against the rules?
It's unprofessional. It needs to stop.
How is that? Do y'all, does everybody else think it's unprofessional? They want the extra overtime. I don't say that it's unprofessional.
We'll discuss it at the work study. Codes and Building Inspector.
Went in and sent out letters in advance of most of my problem areas that I have every year. Even though the grass hasn't reached the limits yet, technically to send them out, but I've done it as a courtesy, you know, to try to get them to keep it cut instead of me having to deal with them, because I am gonna find them this year. I'm not gonna give them no slack. Right off the bat, if they don't, they're getting fined, because it's the same ones over and over.
Every year.
Have issued 3 permits this week. $972 worth, not counting sewer tap fees. So we've had some good residential come in this week and possibly another one next week. And luckily they're in areas where we can provide adequate sewer to them.
Good.
Those are all in a gravity flow area, so we're good on that. That's pretty much it on my codes, just staying on top of everything. Unless y'all know anything else you want me to look at.
What's the time on this over here? You fixing to start?
We talked last week.
Okay.
The weather's just, been
I've had a lot of people say that thing needs to be gone.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
He's gonna push it down with a backhoe and haul it off.
Don't, if that ever catches on fire, that damn big junk's gone.
You know, 'cause we got kids from 912 or somebody who's done broke all the windows out of it.
Yeah.
Everything else. Unfortunately, I could go ahead and do it, but we don't have $40,000 for
No,
us to do
no.
it, so that's the reason. I have to be a little lenient and
Yeah.
try to work with all
I understand.
Benny had to go work a wreck,
Okay,
so if y'all don't mind, I'll present him.
Yeah.
okay.
This is a copy of the activity report. This includes police, fire, and public works. Anything that comes through my dispatch is catted and record kept up.
Thank you, Tim.
So as you can see, for the police department, for the police department, we had 437 calls for service this past month. For fire, and that includes all first responder calls, fire, accidents, everything, we had 147 for the fire department, which EMS pretty much calls for first responders on every call and more. And Public Works was 11 call-outs from the police department. So that kind of gives you an idea. I figure breaking it down like this way, I make my dispatchers log everything that's, we have to call in after hours. That way if you ever need to look at something, it's there.
Good job.
Everything's on track at the police department. Should start hanging fixing the sheetrock on the ceiling and mudding it next week, and patching up the drywall. Then we'll be ready to start the painting.
Good.
Indeed.
Everything else is going pretty good. The grant situation still looks good. Pretty confident on the $25,000 extra. Talking with the Highway Safety Office. It's looking pretty good.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank y'all.
Good job, Tim.
Mr. Frady?
I do not have anything, unless you have anything for me.
Have you been able to get those other budget numbers together for me? Have you had time
I've got
to
some
get
more,
those?
and before I left Tuesday evening, I worked on some more.
Okay.
But I've been in class for the last 2 days.
Understand. Okay. Any other discussion of anything? Hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Let's go home.